Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the latest edition of the 8 o'clock spot live here on the Gryd Network's YouTube channel. I am your host / moderator, Bryson Carver. We are here. It is episode 47. We've got not one, not two, not three, but four fantastic panelists on tap for you guys tonight, starting with a multi-time champion of this particular program and one of the higher-ups in terms of the leaderboard. It is Yankees fan and a guy who's telling me he's very, very stressed about the Juan Soto thing that's going on right now in free agency. It is Mike Guido, the host of the Bicoastal Baseball Podcast. Mike Guido, how are you doing tonight, my man?
I am doing okay. I mean, I think my approach for the rest of the winter, Bryson, is just going to be to not look at Twitter the entire time because I think it's just better for my mental health. I took a rule for myself. I started the year off with the principle, at least in the beginning of the NFL season, that I was not going to emotionally invest myself in the Cowboys this year as much as I have in years past. And I'm very glad that I've done that because now they're 3-7. They could very easily be the worst team in football. And I got to be honest, mentally, outside of the Juan Soto thing, I have never been doing better mentally in my life. So feeling good.
Well, listen, you can jump off the ship like I did 4 years ago, and you can come and be a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, man. It's a much better existence. I'll tell you that right now. I'll tell you, somebody who's having a nice season with their football team is Paris Brown, big fan of the Arizona Cardinals, who are obviously coming off a bye week right now. Paris, back on the 8 o'clock spot, my man. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Hey, Kyler Murray's having another great year. This is what I expect from him. I mean, he can be inconsistent at times, but I expect this from him. And being from Indiana, I got IU and Ohio State coming up this week. So,
man, biggest game in college football by far. I
got a lot to look forward to.
For sure. Shout out to Paris. Tyler Redington is joining us once again, the 8 o'clock spot. Tyler, how you doing tonight, my man?
Hey, man, too blessed to be stressed. Excited to talk about some sports. Mavs have won 2 in a row, one against the Thunder without Lucas.
Yeah, listen, man, we got you guys on Clay's return, though. That was a fantastic game last Tuesday night that Clay played well. Steph did the little night-night at the end. It was a great night. Finally, for the first time on this season of the 8 o'clock spot, season 2, it is my man, it's my graphics man, and my good friend Alfred Parsard Jr., who's, I imagine, had a little bit of a weird day today because the Jets just fired their GM. We're going to get to that in our second segment. But Alfred, how are you holding up with the whole Jets fiasco playing out the way that it has?
I should be used to it by now, but the way I react is you would have thought this is all new for me, but longest NFL playoff drought and counting. So I'm at this point I can't even get upset, but I'll talk about that more when we get to the topic. But glad to be back, though.
For sure. We're glad to have you back. I'm curious to get to see what your take is on the Jets later in the show. Let's go and look at our leaderboard, our updated leaderboard coming into this week of the 8 o'clock spot. We got 10 people on here. Arthur Hurst is at the top and at 94 points, followed by there's Mike Guido, there's Barry Grant Jr., there's Paris Brown at number 4, followed by Tim Barnard, Asher Moore. Shout out to my guy who won the show last week, Eric Van Litten, there's Tyler Redington, EJ Savage, and Eric Ruiz. Obviously, Alfred Parsard Jr. will look to join the board this week. Let's look into our rules. It's pretty simple, folks. A great take, or the best take rather, gives you 5 points. The second best take gives you 3. The third best take gives you a single point. And given that we have 4 guys here, if you're in fourth, you get nothing going into the next round. So let's get into our first topic. It was billed as the game of the week, and it did not disappoint. You had the Buffalo Bills hosting the back-to-back and undefeated Kansas City Chiefs, back-to-back champion Kansas City Chiefs, who are on a 15-game winning streak. The Bills were able to end that. Josh Allen was nothing short of spectacular. Put the game away with this 4th down and 2 run, 30-plus yard 4th down 2 run to put the game on ice. Listen, this is Kansas City's first loss. I'll start with Mike Guido. You've been a big Josh Allen and Bills guy for some time now, so I'll ask you to start. Did this Bills win of the Chiefs prove they're the best team in the NFL?
No, and it's not really because I think the Bills are falling short. I just think that I don't know that conversation is set in stone, right? I don't think it's with the Chiefs, though. I think the Detroit Lions have a real conversation about who the best team in the NFL is. They are very, very, very good. But what I think the Bills proved is that they are incredibly balanced. This is a team that does not play with, I've said it before, they're not playing with any sort of stress of trying to get the ball to any particular player. Josh Allen looks like he's playing a little bit more free. He's not forcing the ball. He's turning the ball over less. He's finding the open receiver. They can finally, after a number of years, effectively run the football. James Cook has been one of the more reliable running backs in football this year. I mean, This is a balanced team. They can get after the quarterback. Look, and to be honest with you, something about the Chiefs, despite the undefeated record, seem to not sit right, right? Like Patrick Mahomes has been having a very subpar year. Travis Kelce has been, kind of showing his age for among the first times in his career. Like, this is the team that's kind of been carried by their defense. And to see Josh Allen have that kind of success against a defense that good, I think it says a lot about them. I think they probably are the best team in the AFC. Again, I think it's a toss-up between them and the Lions for best team in the NFL. But in the AFC, I like the Bills right now.
That's fair. And when the two quarterbacks, two of the best of the game, Mahomes and Allen, met at midfield, I forget which one it was, Mahomes around, that basically implied we're probably gonna see each other again in January, because that's been the tale of the last 3 to 4 years, was seeing Mahomes and Allen face to face in January. To you, Paris, did the Bills win over the Chiefs prove that they're the best team in the NFL?
I would say no, mainly because of, kind of like you said, the Detroit Lions are by far, at the moment, the best team in the NFL I have seen. They are the best coach team I think I have ever seen. I have never seen a team go out and dominate teams week in. They've had 3 weeks, they put up like 50 points. And the Lions, and they've done it multiple ways. They win when Jared Goff is throwing for 400 yards. They win when Jared Goff is throwing for 80 yards. They win if he throws 5 interceptions. It doesn't matter what the Lions do, they still win. But with the Bills beating the Chiefs, to me, it proves they can make a deep playoff run, and this can be a year they can make it to the Super Bowl. Because really, in the AFC, the main team that was holding them out of it was the Chiefs every single year. And now that they're finally able to beat them, and beat them without Keon Coleman out there, that's another top wide receiver for them. He wasn't even playing, and they were still able to go out there and beat them. To me, it does prove that the Bills have a better chance of going in the AFC and winning the AFC. But saying the best team in the NFL entirely, I don't know if I can say that yet. The Lions are dominant, and the Eagles are really starting to feel like that Super Bowl Eagles team now. They're really starting to play together. So best team in the NFL, maybe not, but best team in the AFC, I would give them that.
That's fair, and I think that's, when we talk about what Detroit has done, the thing that I know this is obviously a Bills and Chiefs segment, but the thing that I've been so impressed with Dan Campbell is the fact that they approach every single week with the exact same intensity, with the exact same, intestinal fortitude and preparedness that you see from that you see against the best teams, like a Green Bay Packers, like a Houston Texans, somebody like that. So that's what I respect about Detroit as well. Obviously, as you mentioned, the multiple different ways that they can beat you and beat you quite badly. Go now to Alfred Parsard Jr. Did the Buffalo Bills win over the Kansas City Chiefs prove that they were the best team in the NFL, Alfred?
I hate to be an echo chamber, but best team in the AFC, yes. Best team in the NFL, no. And I'll tell you why exactly. When you look at the Lions, which I'm going to agree with the general consensus here, I do believe the Lions are the best team in the NFL as of right now today. When you look at the Lions and you look at the Bills, the Lions, even though they have similar results, they're both 9-win teams. That Detroit Lions offense is pretty darn scary. When you've got a running back like Jahmyr Gibbs and you have David Montgomery playing side by side with him, David Montgomery has been a touchdown machine all year. I think there's only one game he's played in where he hasn't scored a touchdown. We all know what Jahmyr Gibbs is, especially if you play fantasy football. Then look at their wide receiving core. Jamison Williams, Amon-Ra St. Brown. They've even had Tim Patrick be a weapon, who was a dud for the last 3 years in the NFL. Jared Goff is say what you want about his Rams tenure, but he's looked really good this year. It says a lot in a Sunday night primetime game when you have a quarterback that throws 5 picks and you still beat the brakes off of your opponent. Meanwhile, the Buffalo Bills, they're a 9-win team. They just beat the Chiefs, who, and not to take away anything from their from their win over the Chiefs, but the Chiefs have been a struggling team this year. Every game that they've won, -2 of them have all been within single-digit wins. So, and they're dealing with injuries. They lost Pacheco. They lost Rashee Rice. So, not to say that their win was a cakewalk, but the Bills were the healthier team going into that game. And I got to give credit to the Bills being the best team in the AFC. You lose Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis, and your top wide receiver at the start of the season was Khalil Shakir. And then you acquire Amari Cooper's still good, but you acquired an aging veteran. So they've got less offensive weapons to work with, and their record still is what it is. But compared to the Lions, I gotta give the Duke to the Lions. Best team in the AFC, yes, but not in the NFL. I gotta see I just got to wait till playoff time comes to make that assessment.
Right. And I think that's fair. And again, you kind of mentioned what we brought up before when it relates to Detroit is the fact that they can beat you multiple different ways with the mistakes that Jared Goff is prone to commit from time to time when facing pressure, particularly from the interior of that offensive line. So I think you make some good points there, Alfred. Finally, you, Tyler, did the Buffalo Bills win over the Kansas City Chiefs prove that they're the best team in the NFL?
Look, yes, I really do think so. Now, everybody wants to know what the Bills, like, what are they going to do in the postseason? They've done this before in the regular season where they've been really well. Now, they weren't necessarily healthy yesterday. They were without 4 key guys, the Bills were, and they still went in there, took care of business. And this team is vibing as well. I could go ahead and say that they cut out some of their toxic waste in the locker room with Stephon Diggs. They acquired Amari Cooper, who's a veteran leader, and I think that's doing a lot for them. They've been almost there every time, and they still have a chance to actually take the 1 seed and have Chiefs come to them. And if the Chiefs come down there to Buffalo, woo, that's going to be a good one. I think Buffalo could win. So, and then it's just, can you win one in the Super Bowl? And I think anybody can. So yeah, right now the Bills are the best team in the NFL.
I mean, I like the confidence. And like you said, the fact that, and I think Mike brought it up earlier, the fact that, Keon Coleman's gone. There's, you're dealing with injuries. I mean, Dalton Kincaid's out. You got the fact that Khalil Shakir got hurt during the game. So you were dealing with a lessened version of what the Buffalo Bills offense tends to be. Now, again, you can make the case with the Chiefs. They missed Hollywood Brown all season long. No Rashee Rice, and Pacheco's been out for a while, as Alfred has brought up. But the fact that Buffalo was able to put up 30 points, by the way, against a Chiefs defense, this is a real stat that has not given up 30 points since the Eagles Super Bowl. That was 2 Super Bowls ago was the last time Kansas City gave up 30 points. So it's not something they do very frequently. So you make some really good points across the board. If I can go and get our point total up here. Mike Guido thought it the best take of the segment. Give him 5 points as we move into our next round, followed by Paris at 3 points, Tyler at 1 point. Alfred, you're going to get in the board in the next segment, man. I can tell. I can feel it. Let's check our comments real quick before we go on to our next round. We're already getting some Jets trolling, which is fitting because we're about to talk about the Jets. Sincere Brown says Bills Lions Super Bowl. That would be something. That'd be a fantastic game. There's no question about it. Interesting. Shaheem Taylor says definitely not the best team in the AFC. We're talking about a Bills team that lost to the Cardinals. Well, actually, the Cardinals, the Bills team actually beat the Cardinals back in week 1, and that could have been, maybe a look into how good Arizona would be this season. Let's talk about the Jets. They just fired their GM today, Joe Douglas, after 6 seasons with the franchise. This comes after, again, 6 years, a record well below 500. The Jets had sky-high expectations coming into this season with the healthy Aaron Rodgers, with some of the talent like a Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, others coming into the season, and in the season has been nothing short of an abject disaster. Not like I called it from the jump. I'm not going to pat myself on the back. I'm the host, not a contestant on this show. But the Jets right now sitting here at 3-8 with a minimal chance to make the playoffs. I'll start with you, Paris. Was firing Joe Douglas the right move for the New York Jets?
So on one hand, you have to kind of say yes, because he hasn't had a singular winning season since he's been on that team. But when I look at GMs, I really look at them like what players they bring in. They can't control how the players perform. They can really control on their staff and the players they bring in. And when you look at the team he's tried to build, you really can't say he's done wrong moves. Like when he took over the team 2019, 2020. In 2020, their leading rusher was Frank Gore. What are you supposed to do with that team? There's nothing on that team for him to do. Then you go into the next year, you get Zach Wilson, you get Michael Carter, and they get CJ Mosley. That's a big piece right there. He's been the biggest piece on the defense until maybe Sauce Gardner. And at this point, probably still the biggest piece on the defense. So you bring in good players that year. Then the next year, you bring in Breece Hall, you bring in Garrett Wilson, you bring in Sauce Gardner. Then you bring in Aaron Rodgers, which is kind of, you can question it because he was aging. You could tell he was getting older. You could tell he was on the decline. But this was a guy with Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson loved Aaron Rodgers. The plan obviously was to be trading there. Did it work? It didn't work at all. But you can see the vision. You can't look at that play and say, nobody else made that move. You can see exactly what he was trying to do there. It just hasn't worked. Everything he tried to bring in, he brought everything for Aaron Rodgers. Devontae Adams, Randall Cobb, Alan Lazard. Everything that was successful for Aaron Rodgers, it just didn't work. So on one hand, you have to fire him because he doesn't have a winning season. But I really don't think he's a bad GM. The moves he made weren't bad moves. Just in the end, it just didn't work.
If you want to pinpoint one great move he made, the fact that he got 2 first-round picks for Jamal Adams was probably the best move that he made in his entire tenure with the Jets. And like you said, he did accumulate the talent. You talk about the Williams brothers, Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, among others. Like, again, it is the coaching staff's job, and frankly, it's the players' job to be able to perform on a consistent basis every Sunday. So you make a fair point, and the fact that they did fire him in season as opposed to waiting until the end was strange, to say the least. I'm wondering what led to that decision from the upper management, or maybe from a particular quarterback. Who knows? To you, Alfred Parsard Jr., you are the Jets fan in here, my man, so I want to know what you think. Was it the right move for the Jets to fire Joe Douglas today?
Absolutely right call. And as we all know that sports is a results-driven business. It doesn't matter that you put the best team together on paper. It matters, do you make the playoffs? Do you go far in the playoffs when you make the playoffs? The guy hasn't had a winning season, and even more telling, the Jets have the longest NFL playoff drought. They hired Joe Douglas with the expectation that we are going to break this drought. We do not want this record. This is an embarrassing record. This is a record we do not want to have. Like, we're the laughing stock of the entire NFL right now, minus maybe the New York Giants, which are only a game less than us. The good that he did, I give Joe Douglas credit. That 2022 draft class that he drafted, masterful, with Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, and Sauce Gardner, where you had the offensive and defensive rookie of the year on the same team. I don't remember the last time that's been done. I don't think that that'll be done for a long time. But on the flip side, it hasn't translated to success. Zach Wilson should have been gone way before he was actually shipped to Denver. You get Aaron Rodgers, who, again, we all know he was on the decline. This is not the same Rodgers that last won the MVP in 2020. I don't know what type of expectation they had with him being a 40-year-old quarterback coming off of a torn Achilles. They didn't draft a quarterback this draft class, which you should have done, because a 40-year-old quarterback who just blew out his Achilles, you have to prepare for the future. Now you have to go into this draft and prepare for that same future when you could have had a quarterback come in this year, obviously not play, sit behind Rodgers and learn, because Rodgers is a good guy to learn from. But again, he's been here since 2019, not one single winning season. I could even understand if you want to give him a long leash, had the team finished 8-8, 9-7, or even with the extra game. But right call. I mean, again, sports is a results-driven business, and the results simply were not there. Got to change the culture, and it all starts with the front office.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's something that, there was no, I remember the first sort of sign, at least for me as an outsider looking in at the New York Jets and their upper management, is when Aaron Rodgers goes down, the fact that they were banking on the fact, hey, Aaron stays healthy, by the way, with a terrible O-line, which the Jets were last season over the course of the year. We're going to bank on the fact that Zach Wilson's going to be ready, just, I guess, by osmosis, being around Aaron Rodgers will get better, as opposed to having a good, solid backup quarterback in place of him to stabilize the ship, and they just didn't have that. And so, listen, there's been a collection of missteps from pretty much everybody involved, but Joe Douglas certainly is one of those at the top of that list. So I think you make some really good points, Alfred. To you, Tyler, did the Jets make the right move today and fire their GM, Joe Douglas?
Absolutely. It's the last move of the total blow-up. I mean, he was 30-63 in his whole tenure for the Jets, and he had one job, and that was to bring in a quarterback. He drafted Zach Wilson. You heard stories as soon as Zach Wilson was drafted about how his girlfriend came out, said he was dating an older chick. Anyway, he was just not focused from the beginning, and that was a terrible pick, in my opinion. And then you have Aaron Rodgers. He was never able to get a quarterback here that was sufficient. He did draft those good players that you mentioned, but the fact that he was never able to bring in a good QB and have any sort of success, he just fired Robert Saleh, not too long ago, and this has just been an awful 3 to 4 years for the Jets. He had to go, and I'm surprised it didn't happen sooner.
Yeah, and that's, I think the only reason it didn't happen sooner was the fact that Aaron blew his Achilles last year, and so guys like Saleh, guys like Joe Douglas, it's like, okay, we'll give you a mulligan. We didn't get a chance to see how this played out, but at the same time, like you said, and going back sort of what Alfred was saying, results-driven business, and it just never panned out. Finally, to you, Mike Guido, did the Jets make the right move in firing Joe Douglas as the GM today?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think Joe Douglas got his reputation from Philadelphia, obviously. Like, we all kind of expected him to be this great drafter, this great builder of teams. And when he came into the Jets, I mean, he's had a couple of hits, but I think the number is like, if I'm not mistaken, I think I saw this number. Joe Douglas, in the history of the NFL, Joe Douglas has the worst percentage of draft picks that are remaining in the NFL from the time they were a GM. Like, it is remarkable how terrible they've drafted in late rounds. So as far as that's concerned, I think it's absolutely the right call. But I also think this, as far as this is concerned, this is the guy that's supposed to be like an offensive line sort of guru, and they've pretty much whiffed on everybody they've brought in except for Elijah Vera Tucker. And like, at that point, you're just kind of thinking to yourself, like, what is this guy actually good at when he comes in as a GM? I just don't know that there's anything worth keeping here. And to be honest with you, since he's given everything to Aaron Rodgers, I mean, you're kind of, asking yourself, okay, if we're going to try and separate ourselves from Aaron Rodgers, we need to kind of get rid of the things that Aaron Rodgers then kind of comes with. And I think Joe Douglas, being the guy that provided all of that stuff for him, they might just be like, you know what, I want to tear this whole thing down, get through this entire regime of what Rodgers is like. That report came out today. So I do think it was the right call. I'm actually surprised it wasn't sooner that they didn't do this. But yes, I think it was the right call to let Joe Douglas go.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of the fact that he was as much, or at least proclaimed as much of an offensive line guy as he was. And boy, some of those Jets O-lines in his tenure were just some of the worst in the NFL. So I think he makes some good points across the board there. Paris Brown gets the most points and therefore jumps into the lead at 8 points, followed by Mike giving you 1 point. Alfred Parsard Jr. gave you 3 points for the second best take. Tyler is still at 1 point. So we got a tight contest here in the 8 o'clock spot. We got a ton of comments. Let's see what we got up in here. Andre Brown says the Jets are just cursed. I mean, by the year it starts to feel that way. Like there comes a point in time where, and by the way, Romy is the best says it's time for Rodgers to go too. I mean, I tend to pretty much agree with that, but it's been an abject disaster. There's no question about that. Let's move on to, this makes me happy. The Baltimore Ravens falling short to the Pittsburgh Steelers. So Steelers, this is the craziest stat I've seen all weekend. So the Cincinnati Bengals play the Baltimore Ravens. They score 5 touchdowns and they lose. The Pittsburgh Steelers score 0 touchdowns against the Baltimore Ravens and somehow, some way, in Mike Tomlin fashion, get the 18-16 W. So listen, this is something I feel like I can see coming from the jump. Given, listen, Tomlin's a home dog. That's betting on that and winning money is as sure as death and taxes. Like, Mike Tomlin's a home dog, great bet. Also, the fact Lamar Jackson now 1-4 against the Steelers. We could talk about all those different things, but I'll start with you, Alfred. The fact that the Lamar just lost another game to the Ravens, given his struggles in the playoffs, and then against the Chiefs individually as a team, some of his best defenses and opponents that he plays, should this loss to Pittsburgh be cause for concern that, oh boy, here comes another playoff disappointment from Lamar and the Ravens? I think your sound's off, Alfred.
I would say it is a cause for concern if they should meet the Steelers in the playoffs. We've seen some of the greatest athletes of our generation who, dominating here, dominating there, and they run into either one team or one opposing player that just has their number. And unfortunately for Lamar Jackson, it's safe to say Mike Tomlin and the Steelers have his number. As you alluded to, it's mind-boggling that a team 1 week can give up 5 touchdowns and win, and then the next week they give up no touchdowns and lose. Historically, throughout his career, Lamar Jackson has had disappointing performances against the Steelers. It's no secret. And again, Mike Tomlin, Hall of Fame coach. Some critic, and I'm not a Mike Tomlin fan or a Steelers fan at all, but a lot of people knock Mike Tomlin, saying that the game has advanced, but his coaching style hasn't. But apparently he's able to shut down one of the better quarterbacks. He's able to game plan against one of the better quarterbacks of our generation, not named Patrick Mahomes. So I gotta say that, yeah, if I'm a Ravens fan, if we both, well, the Steelers will make the playoffs, but if those two teams collide in the postseason and I'm a Ravens fan, I'm gonna watch that game in a little bit of fear that my season might be coming to a halt.
Listen, I'll put it this way as a Steelers fan, Alfred. If you had to put the three teams, the proverbial three best quarterbacks that have a good chance to make the playoffs, Cincinnati probably is going to get in, even if we'll see if they make the late push, but likely not. With the three best quarterbacks, take Burrow out. You got Mahomes, you got Josh Allen, you got Lamar Jackson. You ask me of those three teams, who am I least afraid of? It's Baltimore by a mile. Josh Allen scares the crap out of me. So does Mahomes. Like there's a fear factor that comes with those guys. Certainly with the Chiefs, they've won 3 of the previous 5 world championships. With the Baltimore Ravens, it's okay. They always put up their lowest point total in the postseason relative to obviously what they've done in the regular season. So I think you make some really good points there, Alfred. To you, Tyler. Should this Ravens loss to the Steelers once again, Lamar now 1-4 against Pittsburgh, should this be cause for concern for potentially another Lamar Jackson and Baltimore Ravens playoff disappointment?
Yes. Anybody that's played sports, that games that mean more, they're different. They're a totally different sport. I mean, you feel the pressure. Your game's on the line. There's 2 seconds left. Postseason, it's a different sport because you have to have a different mentality. And I'm starting to wonder, do these Ravens have that? I mean, do they have that instinct to be able to have that mentality in the playoffs to get where they need to be? I mean, they're 5-7 in divisional rounds. They're 2-3 in the conference championships. In 2012, fall over to 13. They had Ray Lewis won a championship. Unbelievable defense, right? But Lamar Jackson in this squad, I question, and I do not actually think that they have the DNA and the mentality to get where they need to be. Some people fold in big games, Bryson. That's just the truth, man. And he hasn't gotten past. He hasn't done it yet. So I got to see him do it before I can say, hey, Baltimore fans feel great. They're gonna do it this year. I got to see something else in the playoffs, not just the regular season.
And by the way, I've been a huge Lamar Jackson fan over the years, but I think you make some good points. Like there comes a point in time where, I mean, I've talked about this with Joel Embiid, certainly James Harden. James Harden to me is in a different category because I've seen that man legit quit in playoff games, but just guys who have just not, we ask what we ask of our superstar athletes, at least this is how I perceive it, is once playoff time rolls around, just maintain your level of dominance. If you exceed it, if you become a LeBron James, Michael Jordan, or Tom Brady type of guy, or Mahomes, and get better in the playoffs, great. Now you're an all-time legend. But if you could just maintain it, Lamar Jackson takes a serious dip in the postseason. And I think this games against the Steelers are a good, sort of look into why that is the case, sort of that familiarity, between those two teams. To you, Mike Guido, again, you and I have been big Lamar Jackson fans over the years, but should this loss to the Steelers create cause for concern for Ravens fans that Lamar may have another stinker come playoff time?
No, I don't. And honestly, I think people are looking into this loss a little bit too much, to be honest with you. I think the main takeaway from this game is that the Steelers are very good. The Steelers have a very, very, very good defense. Like, this is a team, you want to talk about defensively led teams. Pittsburgh is good in virtually every aspect. They get after the quarterback like no other team in football, right? And especially if you're going to be able to make Lamar Jackson run for his life, I don't care how fast he is, being able to, needing to make throws under pressure, it doesn't matter how mobile you are. You know what I mean? Like Lamar Jackson is still going to feel all of that pressure. So that's part of it. I still think the Ravens are a very good football team. Like, I just am not ready to kind of just like throw all of that out the window. I know that Lamar Jackson's history in the postseason has kind of fallen out of his favor. But I do think that when it comes to the playoffs this year, there's going to be a lot less stress on Lamar Jackson going into the playoffs because they can continue to do the things that they do well, but at an even higher rate. Right? They're running the football better now than they ever have been. They can control the tempo of the game. They have possession receivers that are good at creating their own space. They're good in the open field. I just think that when it comes down to it, Baltimore has the athletes to be able to win playoff games. I think this loss is just a loss. It's a tough division loss against a good team. The Steelers certainly look like they've figured it out with Russell Wilson. I think it's just a good football team lost to another good football team, tough division game. I think it says more about the Steelers than it does the Ravens.
Okay, listen, I appreciate the fact that you're trying to get points by playing to my favoritism with my team, but nonetheless, I think listen, you make great points obviously about Pittsburgh's defense, but I do think the fact that there is a level of familiarity between Mike Tomlin obviously and Lamar Jackson does fact. And we'll see if that comes to haunt the Ravens once we go deeper into the playoffs. Looks like my internet connection is giving me problems. I'll go to you, Paris, now. This loss from the Ravens to the Steelers, is this cause for concern? Should it be cause for concern for Baltimore and for Ravens fans going into the playoffs?
So if you're a Ravens fan, yes, I'd be worried, but I'm not going to say I'd be worried just because of this game. Kind of as he said, the Steelers are a really good team. The Steelers are a top team in the NFL right now. Their defense is really good. Russ has made the offense even better. This is a good team, and this is a division rival. They're going to know each other. And no matter how good you are, there's always that one team that just has your number. For some reason, whatever they do, they just know how to beat you. I mean, Tom Brady could beat everybody, but let Eli Manning face him. He couldn't beat him. Eli Manning didn't even need to have a good team. He could still beat him. There's always just that one team that can beat you. And it's just tough for the Ravens that it becomes in their division. It makes it tougher for them. But to lose to a Steelers who are one of the better teams in the league, I don't think that causes a concern. Also, Justin Tucker misses 2 field goals. What are the odds he does that in any other game in the rest of his career? That's just not going to happen. I doubt he does that again. Let them face again in the playoffs. I don't think he misses 2 more field goals. But I'm worried. I'm worried just because of the history. Lamar hasn't proven that he can step up in the playoffs. I know Derrick Henry can. We've seen him do it. The Titans just didn't have the good quarterback. But you know Derrick Henry can. You know the defense can. It's can Lamar and can Zay Flowers do it? Those are the 2 worries I have. Leaving Lamar as an MVP caliber, when he's winning MVPs, he goes to the playoffs. He doesn't play like that player. And Zay Flowers, he's having a better year than his rookie year, and he still looked bad in this game. I mean, only 2 catches. He had a play where Lamar was running around, threw it right to him, and it just bounces off his chest. He's inconsistent, and he's inconsistent in big games. He'll do it against the Chiefs. He'll do it against the Steelers. So I'm not worried just because of the Steelers, but I'm just worried in general for the Ravens because still they haven't proved it, and the players that need to prove it, they can't do it.
Yeah, and that's a fair point. Like it's kind of the 2 things can be true syndrome. Like I am concerned just not for this reason, like just not for the reason that, hey, we know how great the Steelers are defensively, and again the divisional familiarity between those 2 AFC North rivals. Yeah, I think that's something you got to keep your eye on if you're a Ravens fan. Is I don't know. Once we get to January, do I have that level of trust in Lamar that I would, potentially, had he had some big time postseason moments in the past? Andre Brown in the comments says Lamar's a great regular season quarterback, but in the postseason, he and the Ravens lose their identity. I think that's a great point. Like even in this game, Derrick Henry didn't get the ball that much. Lamar Jackson threw the ball 36 times in a game that was within 1 score forever. The one thing I will correct you on, Paris, before we get to our scores. Justin Tucker missing 2 kicks in the games in 2024, not as uncommon as you might think. He's kind of lost his mojo in recent weeks. I'm not sure what's happened within the season, but if you had to rank the top 10 kickers, I'm not sure Tucker's in it. Like, I'm not even kidding. The way he's been kicking this year, he hasn't been that good.
It doesn't seem like any kicker can kick right now, though. Everybody's missing. Other than the Steelers kicker.
I will say, hold on, Brandon Aubrey, I will make a correction there. Brandon Aubrey, the best player in football. Forget about kicker. Best player in football is Brandon Aubrey. Sorry.
And he missed a kick. And he missed a kick.
And he missed one. That's true.
So,
yes, he did.
It's just everybody's missing it.
Not everybody can be Chris Boswell and go 6 for 6 in 2 games this year. No, it just not everybody can do it.
Now they're winning games. Another reason they're winning games.
Another reason. Listen, special teams, it's a real thing. Paris, you, my friend, are in front. You are advancing to the final round with 11 points, and you will be joined by a single-point margin by Alfred Parsard Jr., who will be advancing to the final round, followed by Mike Guido and Tyler Redington. Gentlemen, fantastic job. We're going to be getting to Paris and to Alfred in just a second. I'm going to ask, and then just quickly, before we get into our final question, because obviously this question is based on the Jake Paul, Mike Tyson fight. What was your answer to the question, Guido? And then I'll get to you, Tyler. What was your celebrity boxing matchup? Just quickly.
My celebrity boxing match?
Yes. What was it?
Joe Biden versus Donald Trump.
You want to talk about pay for me for that one?
Listen, you're telling me that wouldn't solve issues in the world?
I like
Come
that
on.
answer.
That'd be unbelievable. Tyler, do you have a one that measures up to that?
I had Barack Obama and Donald Trump.
It's both political matchup.
Everyone wants to see Donald Trump in a boxing ring.
What do we do? We saw Mike Tyson out there dying, and we're like, hey, let's up the age.
Let's throw more old men in there.
At least they'll be in the same age bracket.
That's true. Yeah, Alfred, good point.
There you go. All right, Mike, Tyler, fantastic job. We'll catch up with you guys at the end of today's show. But of course, we are down to the final two. It is Alfred Parsard Jr. and it is Paris Brown. And again, you guys kind of got a little bit of a preview, but let's get into our final round rules first. It's pretty simple. The best take gets 10 points. It's the great equalizer in this 8 o'clock spot tournament. Let's get into it right now. So obviously you had the Jake Paul, Mike Tyson, again, I say in air quotes, fight on Friday night on Netflix. By the way, Netflix, fix the connection problems, man. Like, don't have everybody going to Stream East for crying out loud. Like, get that ironed out before Steelers and Chiefs on Christmas Day. That's got to get fixed. But if you had to, and I'll start with you, Paris, if you had to pick any celebrity boxing matchup, it would be who?
So I want to keep it like an actual, like somebody's actually gonna fight. That's why the only reason I wouldn't go political. I don't see them doing anything. But the two people I want to see fight are the two people in the NFL that seem to want to fight everybody is Pickens and DK Metcalf.
Oh,
if I could see both of them fight each other, I don't even know if it lasts more than 2 rounds because they're not gonna. All they're gonna do is swing the entire time. There's gonna be no blocking. They're gonna start swinging. Probably get disqualified by the first round. But the entertainment value itself, just from them two fighting, and maybe they can stop fighting on the field and getting flags But I just, to me, that'd be so entertaining because them two always seem to be wanting to cause fights on the field. I just want to see them do it in a ring. Go fight somebody in the ring.
But yeah, so you're saying like get it out of their system in the ring, and then maybe they won't do it as much as the field. Listen, it's a suggestion. It's a suggestion. I'll say that. To you, Alfred, celebrity boxing matchup. What would your dream matchup be?
Well, celebrity boxing again is always a circus. You got to get two celebrities who don't like each other, and especially because this stuff is probably going to be on pay-per-view, so you're going to want to sell pay-per-view buys and tickets. And what two celebrities in recent memory have more of a personal grudge? Kanye West and Pete Davidson, especially one guy's accusing the other guy of stealing his wife, wrecking his family. Number one, there's a story there that's behind. Two, Kanye West, well, Pete Davidson may not have the fan base Kanye West does, but people would definitely tune into that fight. And three, it's personal. Like these two don't really like each other. You got one guy sending a picture, a selfie of him and the guy's wife in bed to the other guy. You got the other guy stalking the guy outside of his house. Give him some gloves and some headgear and mouthpieces and tell him go duke it out. I'm pretty sure if that fight happens, people will pay for that fight. Or if it goes on Netflix, people will view it. So, you know, the best fights are always when there's a grudge behind them. So that's my and then that one would be personal because again, it's over family and it's over women. So there you go.
Listen, I like it. And let's go and dial up the celebration music because the winner this week for the 8 o'clock spot, episode 47, is Alfred Parsard Jr. Alfred, congratulations. You get the W this week on the 8 o'clock spot. Your reaction, Alfred?
I'm actually surprised I got into the final round. I don't know if you saw my face when you said I made it. I just like to thank all the little people out there. I like to thank my great group of friends. I like to thank Sincere Brown, Shaheem Taylor, Perel, all you guys. You guys are great. My guy Luke, and thank you for the support. And I hope to be back on one of these things.
So hopefully we can get you back on. Alfred, by the way, does an unbelievable job for myself, for all these shows on the Gryd Network with the graphics. So everybody definitely be sure to give him a shout out. I'll go ahead and bring, I think Tyler may have left us. So I'll go ahead and bring Mike back in the fold. Mike, thoughts on these two gentlemen's suggestion for the celebrity boxing match?
Yeah. Well, listen, I think here's the thing. Kanye and Pete Davidson, I think, would have been a great fight, but it would have been a great fight like 2 years ago. Like, I don't know that anybody gives a shit about that now, but hold on. So Paris, what was yours? I don't remember. It was
DK.
Pickens and DK. Okay. DK Metcalf would knock out George Pickens in the matter of 2 seconds.
Yes, he would.
I don't think that fight. George Pickens is a lanky little guy, and DK Metcalf looks like the Terminator. Like, I don't know that fight would be close.
I don't know. Put him against somebody. Let him fight Draymond Green. I want to see Draymond Green fight somebody too.
Oh, that's what I should have said. But Draymond Green, LeBron James, let's do that.
I don't think Draymond would do it, Mike. He likes LeBron too much. He wouldn't do it. He'd fight somebody. He's got a lot of enemies in the NBA.
Draymond Green and Steven Adams.
No.
Draymond Green and Domantas Sabonis.
Draymond Green and Dylan Brooks.
Oh, yeah, that's a good. Draymond might win that one. Draymond might win that one. By the way, you're going to be paying for the fact that I didn't make it to the final round because I had impressions to go with mine too.
Oh dear God! You know what?
Joe Biden.
Yeah, how about this, Mike? You know what? We'll make this like the director's cut. Okay, part of a segment of it. So you did the hands there. But shout out to Mike Guido. Shout out to Tyler Redington. Shout out to Paris Brown, and a big shout out to Alfred Parsard Jr. He's got folks don't see in the live stream studio here. He's got lowly Jets fan underneath his little profile there. So listen, he's had a rough season. Rough many seasons as a New York Jets fan, but hey, at least the Mets are good. 14, yeah. At least the Mets are good, right, Alfred? But congratulations to you, my friend. You're on the 8 o'clock spot leaderboard. You got the W this week, and that is it for this week's edition of the 8 o'clock spot. Be sure to check us out next Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific time, right here on Facebook. Right here on YouTube, rather. And be sure to check out all of our incredible podcasters and content creators, any and everywhere you get your podcasts, all over social media, here on the Gryd's YouTube channel. We got some amazing guys out there doing fantastic work in the audio content creating space. We'll see you guys next week, everybody. Stay safe out there. God bless y'all. Peace out.